Just don't want to sound redundant, repetitive, you know.
Yeah, that'll never happen talking on a podcast, I'm sure. So we're going to Ulta, and I was with Jose, and he needed like a new brow gel. And I was like, oh, okay, like mine is out too, actually. And it was while I was visiting in California. So it was kind of perfect. I was like, oh, great, I'll use it here and then I can take it back with me. And he was like, oh, yeah, I have like a really good one that I use now. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, show me, But he just needed the brow gel. He didn't need the brow color. And I was like, oh, I need like the brow color. Like I use like the spoolie brow, products now for like everything.
Right.
So he shows me the one he likes, but it's the last color, but he uses like a color darker than he actually needs. And so he was like, oh, there's only one more. Like, I'm going to get it. And I was like, but that's not even what you came for. Like, I need it. And you're showing me a product. Like, how are you going to take the only product that's left for yourself? And that's not even what you came for. So then he was like, well, this one's good too. But it wasn't my color. And I was like, yeah, but that's not really my color. And he's like, well, that's the one. I can use that color too. But he still gets the one that I needed. So needless to say, I feel like my brows are a little light and I feel a little bit salty about that. So
that's a total Jose move.
Yeah, that's completely Jose. It's fine. We love you or whatever, but
But not cool. Like he's cutthroat when it comes to the brows.
Oh, yeah, it's brows
like,
over anything.
Brows over everything. 20 years of friendship, doesn't give a fuck. Brows over everything.
Yes. That is his motto. But yeah, I'm still thriving, so it's all good. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. We weren't that worried, but sorry you went through that.
I know. Yeah. So here we are.
But here we are.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully this will be a distraction because we got a fun episode planned. So I always say fun. Do we call them all fun? It's fun for us to chat about.
I mean, yeah, but sometimes we say interesting or no, we use all kinds of adjectives to describe these.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah. Just don't want to sound redundant, repetitive,
Yeah, that'll never happen talking on a podcast, I'm sure.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What are we talking about?
We are talking about moving in together.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah. Which actually this research kind of took a turn from when I had started it to like where it took me. So let's kind of get into it and then we can talk about why. So moving in together. Okay. So the first question I want to ask us is how soon is too soon?
Ooh.
How long do we think is enough time before a couple moves in together?
Ooh. And so we're talking about you already have the label. You are each other's partner.
Right. If you guys haven't noticed, these past few episodes we have had some forethought and we put these together in such a way to kind of go along with the traditional timeline or progression of a relationship. Right. Okay. So we've talked about exclusivity, labels, friends with benefits, all that stuff. And so we're at a point now where, yes, in a traditional sense, you're a couple, you're boyfriend, girlfriend. How long do you think partner? How long would you say is a reasonable amount of time to move in together?
I don't know, because I think in a perfect world, I think that, the more time that you have before moving in together, the better, because you kind of get to like savor that honeymoon phase. But in my own experience, the only time that I've moved in together, well, purposefully, is I think we were together for, let's see, it was August and we moved in January. So September, October, November, December, January. So we moved in 5 months later. So to me, if you had told me that, I feel like I would say that sounds a little soon.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, it was February. So, like, well, yeah, it was February. I apologize. It was February. So 6 months. But I would say 6 months to a year, but I would be heavy on like the 2 a year. You know what I mean? Like around 8 months, I'd feel somewhere around there.
Okay. Yeah. But speaking outside of your experience, would you say, so you would say that you'd lean on the closer to a year mark?
Like 8 to 12 months, I'd say.
Okay. Okay. I think that's fair. I would say the same. I feel like a year is a pretty safe spot to lean, and we'll get into it a little bit, but
yeah.
But I mean, factoring in the way the world has been the past few years.
That's what I was going to say. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of where the research took me. So we will talk about it because the pandemic really played a huge part in like these, the progression of relationships, so to speak.
Well, and even before we get to that, I was also going to say, just based on like how much rent is, like if you are with someone that you really, really think that is going to be there for at least, a years or whatever, I don't know, or if you just feel strongly committed to them, like it just makes most sense fiscally. Like if you are both sleeping over at each other's apartment, you're probably going to have one that you prefer more than the other,
Yeah.
And it just makes most sense. Like, why are you paying 2 rents when you're spending the nights together anyway? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you should rush into it just because of that. But if you're already finding yourself comfortable with that person and you're doing those things anyway, fiscally, it just makes most sense. But,
right.
But yeah.
No, that's totally a huge factor too. Yeah. We will get into that a little bit too. So let's jump in. All right. So conventional wisdom advises couples to wait at least a year before cohabitating, but experts insist 2 years is the magic number.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. 2 years seems like a lot. 1 year seems less than 1 year seems quick.
Yes.
2 years seems like a lot.
Yeah. Like, so it's not a bad thing, but like,
no, not at all.
Okay. All right. Let's keep going.
Right. But also, I mean, some people just like their own space. Like,
I mean, yeah,
if I got married, I don't even know if I'd want a like permanent space with my. That's a little far fetched, but you know what I'm saying?
I don't know what you're saying. I live with my husband.
Would be in an ideal world. It'd be nice to have your own space.
I mean, we do have our own space, though. Like, you can have your own space and still live under the same roof.
No, that's true. But you are lucky. You have a 3-story house.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of space to move around. If you're a couple, like in New York, you might be living in like, what, 800 square feet?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. That's a really good point. You say that because one of the couples that me and whatever, I'm not going to put any specifics out there, whatever, they moved in together before COVID, but the space was small, but they were both working outside of the house, which I'm sure a lot of couples were like this. Yeah. But then COVID hit and they were sharing the same, 800 square feet, if even that.
Right.
The same shoebox all day, every day. And it kind of drove a serious wedge. And then now they live apart. But I'm like, yeah, if you just had like another.
Are they still together though?
Yeah.
They just changed their living situation?
Okay. They just changed their living situation for the time being.
Right.
But oh no, if that were the case, if I was living in the city, I would definitely say probably, keeping your own space would be.
But there's so many factors that go into that. So it's tricky. It's tricky. Yeah. So, all right. So then it goes on to say ideals, however, don't always align with the actual stats. So according to Dr. Brenda Wade, same gender couples on average move in together within 6 months. For all other couples, it seems to be an average of 2 years. Which is interesting. So it does depend on the type of relationship you're in. And then it goes on to say, interestingly, Americans like to move in together before getting married. So according to one study, 70% of marriages where the woman was under 36 when she got married started with at least 3 years of pre-wedding cohabitation.
Interesting. Okay.
Which I totally agree with. I'm a woman under 36, and I would definitely want to live with someone before I married them.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's so interesting because COVID is like dog years. You know what I mean? Like I really feel like the first year that we spent together, not unknowingly, we did not move in together because of COVID, although I would understand doing that as well. But we moved in together and then spent like a serious year of like, he was finishing his PhD. I was like transitioning to new job. Like we were looking to move, and like also COVID, also a pandemic, right? So like, yes, we had a pretty big space, which was nice. We still had like our own rooms to like, do what we wanted to do, work in separate rooms. And those rooms were separate than our actual bedroom as well, which was also separate, from like the kitchen in our backyard. So we actually did have a lot of space to spread out, but it still like taught us a lot about just like cohabitating on every level. Cohabitating on every level. Level. Why am I saying level? It taught us a lot about cohabitating on every level. Like every meal was together, like all of the chores were done together. All of our extracurriculars, what we could do, right? The very few things we could do were done together. So,
not everyone wants to watch the same things on Netflix. Like,
no,
there's a lot of, especially with COVID. So let's get into that a little bit. So how did COVID impact this? So, quote, folks, or for folks in the early stages of their relationship, the quarantine presents a choice of two extremes: either detach and maintain a perpetual distance of 6 feet apart, or quarantine together. And this is according to a clinical psychologist at Lenox Hill Hospital in New York City. So she goes on to say the choice to move in together for an indefinite period of time closely after defining the relationship rapidly accelerates the depth and breadth of connection.
Yep. And yep.
Yeah.
Although I will say it was nice because Ben's a gamer and I like watching TV. So there was very little tiffs over what to watch or the remote because he doesn't care. Yeah, he has very little like attention span for TV shows. So that really helped. Having your own hobbies during COVID really, really makes a difference, I feel. So there's that.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So in a survey of UK-based couples published in June, and I'm not sure of what year, sorry, I forgot to write it down, but 36% of people reported that the pandemic caused them to reach milestones, such as moving in together, much more quickly. Of the 2002 participants, 58% said the experience showed they want to be with their partner forever, and 63% said their relationship is now stronger.
Yeah, if you got
positive, like
well, because I mean, they're not interviewing people that aren't together anymore, are they?
It didn't specify. That's a really good point. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So something that you said before that kind of like strung a chord with me was that you said, fuck, what did you say? Now it's like pissing me off because I can't think of what I want to think of. But you said basically if they were already wanting to define their relationship, it was something about that.
The choice to move in together for an indefinite period of time closely after defining the relationship rapidly accelerates the depth and breadth of the connection.
Yes.
That's the one you're trying to, okay, yeah.
Right, exactly. And I think the important part of that is, for lack of a better term, because I can't fucking think of it, it's about already wanting to define the relationship. Like I think for some people, like, which I've heard, like not only like I've heard this from people like out in the world, but also like on a few podcasts that I listen to, that like when COVID hit and people were just loosely dating, it really kind of, gave them that fork in the road. Like, okay, we either want to keep dating and basically like decide to quarantine together, or we want to like break up and just like figure out COVID and like a pandemic by ourselves, right? Or with roommates or whoever you're living with, right? With your current living situation. And so I think that that's the most important part of that, is just making sure that like you're thinking about people that already wanted to define the relationship much more strong. You know what I mean? Like they wanted to keep that connection. So that makes sense.
No, that's true. Yeah. Yes. I think people had to, like you said, like you mentioned, like loosely dating or like doing whatever, like times that have changed like dramatically and really quickly.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
and it's just wild. It's just
Yeah.
crazy to think. Like, I was listening to another podcast, Wine and Crime, and they made a joke about like one of the girls graduated in 2009, and she's like, after living through a once in a lifetime, like life-changing, economic disaster, basically, after the 2008 recession.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, yeah, once in a lifetime. Isn't that crazy? Just making a joke about millennials having to now have been through the pandemic as well.
I know.
And with the current state of the economy and the political climate, and the climate, it's just a dumpster fire. So let's talk about people moving in together. So
yeah.
And then it goes on to say, in another recent survey of about 800 people who are in a relationship, 34% of respondents age 18 to 35 reported that their relationship has become a little or a lot better than before the pandemic began.
Okay.
Which I thought was interesting. Like, I thought this research was going to take me the other way. Like, people are like, it's close quarters all the time. Like, we're all single now. Like, that was my assumption, but I'm just a cynic, I guess.
Yeah, no, because for me, yeah, I think it's the opposite, where it's like, look at the state of the world, like, be thankful for what you have, like, appreciate the fact that you have somebody to be in quarantine with. So many people were alone during quarantine, and I think it just like showed, like, this is a much more important, situation going on in everyone's life, that you should really just like be thankful for the fact that, like, you can like share your, stress and, job insecurity and
Worries.
all those things,
Yeah.
worries, economic downturn, like, have someone to share that with. Which, again, I mean, I think it could have went either way, but yeah, I think for the majority of people, it was a time to like really be thankful that you still had your health. I can't talk today. Be thankful that you had your health, and that you were able to like connect with people rather than just through Zoom. So
Right. No, that's really true. That's true. And I don't think I included this in my notes, but it was also talking about like, the state of at least our country politically, like different things like that, where people were having to have like really serious conversations about issues that were going on during the pandemic as well. So kind of back to how you were saying, like, people were loosely dating. Maybe that's not stuff you would talk about, or participate in as, I don't know. I don't want to say wholeheartedly, but like, maybe you weren't paying as it wasn't impacting you directly, and so you didn't really have to look at those things so directly. Not to, redundant. You're right. See, now I'm gonna focus on that. I couldn't think of another word. Whatever. But it did also bring that up, one for couples, like, people who have maybe, fast forwarded their relationship because of the pandemic. But two, also people like in themselves, like, you kind of had to figure out where you stood because of everything that was going on.
Yes.
And so I think when it's talking about like accelerates the depth of the connection, you're probably having those tougher, like, more in your face conversations a lot sooner. And if you are on the same page and you want to go out and be active and participate in ways that were possible during the pandemic, that was definitely something that that the research brought up. So
yes. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, that was the thing. It was like even though, because I guess from my experience, like, even though we were still in the honeymoon phase when we moved in together, like, we were still, very much so like infatuated. However, our schedules were still just so like completely busy that, like, for the first 2 months before the pandemic really hit, that we were living together, it wasn't like living together was just like in each other's faces all the time. It was still mostly just like at night after work, right? But I was getting up really early for work, as most people do, especially like in like, big cities and stuff. But I think so once the pandemic did really hit, we still had a lot of things to figure out about just living together, like, we still had a lot of questions to answer about like what that looks like. And so I think that was probably the same for a lot of couples, that maybe they lived together, but they were just out of the house all day, right? Like you just had a lot of bigger questions to answer about like the things that you would fill your time with, what that even looked like, because you've never had this much time to have to fill, you know? And so it just gave you a chance to like really dig deep if that was something that you were seriously invested in. But yeah, but at the same time, you know, like even, you know, a few years later, like it still feels like in a lot of ways we're still using like some of those like not necessarily coping mechanisms, but some of those ways still linger after like well after COVID. You know, we can still go out all the time if we want, but people aren't as, I mean, just in my experience, people aren't as active as they were before the pandemic. You know, a lot more like take home dinners and, you know, and like movies
1000%.
yeah, you know what I mean, like that
streaming stuff. Like, I mean, I love going to the movies are so much fun, but I mean, when things are released at the box office, they're equally released like for streaming. Like they have to advertise like in theaters only now.
Yes,
because like we had a total shift. And I think this is just like the beginning of like those repercussions.
Oh yeah,
and those things aren't so bad, but I think like the trauma or you know, like the collective trauma that we all went through, like all of that is like we haven't even seen everything that, you know what I mean? Like we don't even know all the effects that we're gonna feel. Like kids being out of school and not socializing for that long, like I mean, not saying like some kids are homeschooled, they're not all gonna like go crazy or hopefully or whatever, but you know, like that will have an impact.
Yes, no, definitely. Yeah, but let's talk about adults because I don't like kids.
So. Yeah, I know you don't care. Yeah, you're like, fuck them.
Well, not fuck them, just like they're not in my house.
Right. Not my problem. Okay, so where are we? Okay, so in the same age range, 94% of people said that their partner was extremely or very important to their overall happiness, and 92% of people said that they were extremely or very satisfied with their relationship.
Okay.
So again, just kind of interesting in the research. I thought it was going to be the other way, but again, I did the pandemic single, so.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's hard to say because I mean, it's not 100%. So even out of the people that they found that were together, it wasn't 100% of them that said, you know, they felt this way.
True. That's
so
true.
I think that's still something to be said that, you know, moving in together in general is hard. That's just a hard feat for anyone, friends, relationships, family, like that, you know, it's not easy for anyone. But again, it's almost similar to like chosen family, right? Like you're choosing to move in with this person. It's not forced upon you like a dorm roommate or a family member or, you know what I mean? Or any of those other situations. Like you do generally get to choose to live with this person. And so like even in my experience, like there were reasons why I could have stayed at home and like continued to live with my parents as I worked in the area that I was working. But I didn't want to. I'd rather, you know, spend time with this person that I was, you know, very interested in and like seemed like they were interested in me as well. But it would have been very different had we like been forced to move in together because of COVID, right? Like, if one of his roommates moved out and it was like, oh my God, I can't live here alone, you know, then that would have put way different pressure on the relationship. You know, maybe that would have made us feel more like roommates at that time. Who's to say, you know? So I think it's interesting because, yeah, hopefully, I don't know. Do you think a lot of people moved in together because of just like, oh shit, what else am I going to do? Or, you know what I mean? Or like,
I think it probably depends on your situation.
I guess this could include long distance relationships as well. This doesn't just mean
true.
Oh no, this is moving in together.
This is moving in together, but that includes long distance relationships, you know. I mean,
that just decided to just come together. Yeah.
Right. Decided to come together. Like you kind of like some people did choose to like go quarantine. Like if you lived alone, you may not like that doesn't mean you want to be alone all the time.
Right.
Like I was alone for the pandemic, but I had a roommate. Like I wasn't alone.
Right.
And I know that was a huge help. Like it wasn't just me. Like that probably would have been way worse.
Ooh, yeah. I didn't think about that. Yeah, because living alone just means you are like alone for dinner or lunch, or whatever. You're
right,
just alone
for your sleeping and
your solitude. Right.
right.
Yeah. But then you go out and socialize
exactly
and have people over, right? You have the room to host and the ability to
right.
do what you want. Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, damn.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So interesting. Okay, so let's move on. So what to ask if you're moving in together or how to avoid a disaster, maybe. So we have a moving in checklist, and this is from a licensed marriage and family therapist. And so we have a couple of things here. So first one is examine why you want to move in together. So think about it, particularly in cities with high cost of living. Some couples move in together to save on rent and then discover their relationship wasn't ready for that next step. So in a 2014 study, it found that 27% of people moved in with their partner within the first 6 months of dating. Only 7% said they'd recommend living together so early. So you're an exception. You are not a rule.
Right. Like I said, I wouldn't even recommend that. So
right.
That's totally fair. Yeah, that's totally fair.
So while there's no specific length of time, you need to be dating before moving in together. You'll want to consider what your motivations are and how much you and your partner share your lives, especially if you've been together less than a year.
Yeah, exactly. And that also goes back to like, I think age has a big factor, that's a big factor in this as well. Dating when you're younger, I do think you need to give more time just because your life is changing with every year. Like I can almost honestly say every year my Tony's was like completely different from the last. You know what I mean? Like there weren't many like years that was like, oh, here we are again. It was always like, oh, I'm in a new place and a new job and like I moved here and now I'm here. You know what I mean? It's
right.
Like it was a lot of like constantly moving. I think the longest that I lived in a place was 2 years in my 20s. Like legitimately.
Yeah.
I think so. But anyways, point being, like as you get older, like it just like again, it's like the finances come more into play and you're just like, okay, look, like if I'm spending this much time with you as I'm getting older, it makes a lot more sense. But that's just like anything, because just because I do things, does not mean that I would recommend you doing it. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, do as I say, not
do
as
I say, not as I do. Yeah.
So,
well, speaking of finances, the next one is decide how you want to split your finances.
Yeah.
So decide how you're going to split the rent, bills, and shared expenses, including groceries and household necessities. Are you going to combine your finances, even partially? What about savings? And what are your financial priorities when it comes to your home?
Yeah.
So like long-term goals too.
Fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you're a millennial, don't have to worry about that anyway.
You really don't. So just enjoy that $6 iced coffee and move on. Move on.
Yeah, unless your parents like gave you a house or something, which like go off.
Yeah. Yeah. Good for you.
Right.
You're the exception too. So all right, millennials, this one's for us. Next one is open up about your debt.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Be honest.
Be honest. One thing many couples often overlook when talking about finances is talking about debt. With over 80% of millennials carrying some kind of debt, paying off student loans and credit card debt are a big part of most people's monthly expenses.
Okay.
Which I just want to give myself a shout out. I'm going to brag a little bit because I just made my last car payment yesterday.
Ooh, snaps for Morgan.
I know. It's a 2017, but it's a good car.
Yeah, what? Are you serious? That's in the teens. Like, that's amazing.
I know. I was just like, I thought I would get a new car before this one was paid off, but I just, my life changed, like things happened. And so, but here I am. Yeah. I'm going to have a pink slip. I don't know what that means. I had to ask Jose, like, what do I do now? Like,
you just keep it with you if you ever want to sell it. Okay.
So,
well, enjoy it, baby. Enjoy that paid off feeling. I don't know what it is. So
I will. Thank you so much. Thank you. So, so then it goes on to say, how will debt figure into how you split your costs? Will you contribute to paying off each other's debt? which like I gotta find me one of those. Car is one thing. Let's talk about my student loans, okay?
I know.
It can it goes on, it finishes with, it can be really positive to think about it as combined debt, which I feel like that's a slippery slope. Like if you come in with like so much debt and then they have like no debt, are they gonna want to take on your debt?
I mean, I don't know. That's why I feel like this is really interesting, because I don't think I realized how much shame people felt about these things until like I started being an adult and like talking about things, and people just got awkwardly quiet about it. And I was like, it's not like we all don't have debt. I mean, it's the reality. So for me, it's a little bit tough because I don't know. I just feel like if you feel shame around that, like, one, you shouldn't. Like we like Morgan said, you know, we've survived so much like in this fucking economy in this country. Like you should not, in the US specifically, because we do have viewers outside of the US. What up? Singapore and all the other places that watch us. It's really cool. I've been looking lately. But yeah, I just think like you should not feel any type of shame around it. However, like if your partner makes you feel like it can't be like a, you know, a combined effort, or that like you're just going to have to like tough it or rough it by yourself, like, I don't know. To me, that just is unfair, because you are going into this together. And so like, hopefully that's a conversation that you have early on, right? Like this is saying, like, maybe think about this before you move in together. Because I don't necessarily think it's completely fair to put that on the other person to say like, yeah, if you're literally zero and I'm like $100,000 in debt, and it's just like, okay, 50-50, like, okay, that's kind of shitty. But at the same time, like, what were the circumstances to get you there? Are you a doctor and you just have like crazy,
that's a great point. Like,
crazy bills.
Most places we live need a car.
Yeah.
You know, if you pursued like higher education.
Yeah.
Most people can't pay out of pocket for that.
Right.
Like, what if like there was some kind of health issue?
Yeah, medical bills, right?
Medical bills, like,
right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So definitely talk about this, because you're right. Like, shame is not fair. Like Ryan and I have told you guys all about our debt. Paying off my car is one thing. Like I said, my student loans is another story. So mom is not out of the clear. But still in the red over here. But but that's true. I think it's a conversation to be had. It's not a deal breaker.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But it is tough. But it's always better to have two people working at it than one. So, you know, I will say that is a huge plus. But it doesn't make it any easier. It doesn't make it any easier that we live in hell. So not less hot.
Okay, so the next one is discuss how you will split the chores. Yeah. Do you and Ben do this well?
Probably not at first. But we definitely discuss it. Yes, it's important. Yeah, it is important.
Mine would be, I'll do everything else, you do the dishes. That is like, I hate doing the dishes.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't mind the dishes. You know my vice.
I know.
It's laundry.
If we I will do the laundry if you do the dishes, because I just cannot. I cannot.
Yeah.
I do, but I don't like it.
Yeah. I don't mind it. Well, I didn't mind it when I lived alone, but yeah, you just have different styles of doing things. Like I like for instance, I just cooked, full dinner, but I like to clean while I'm making the dinner. Like I don't like to leave the mess for after.
Right.
But also I don't know, house chores are really tough because first of all, we live in a 3-story house. So like there's a lot to clean.
Yeah.
So that's like something as well. But I do feel like if we did not have like this big space, if we were in a small apartment, it would be a lot different. Right. But yeah, definitely talk about it. But like those are the things that like, hopefully those are the arguments that you'll have, right? Those are the things that you'll bicker about, because the bigger like trust issues and stuff, those things are harder to work out. So I will take bickering over house chores any day.
Right. Fair. So, it says you've probably read at least a few think pieces about the second shift, aka the gender gap when it comes to who's responsible for chores and childcare. So I didn't know that was called the second shift, but that's interesting. It says, and it's a real issue, particularly for couples made up of a man and a woman. So, but then it goes on to say for queer couples, they may also have different expectations about who does the chores or simply different comfort levels of dust and grime. How long are you okay with letting dishes sit in the sink? How often do you deep clean? And if you're planning on having children in the future, this is where childcare might come into the conversation as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't even know. I don't know. I don't have much to say about that just because, like everyone has, different comfort levels.
Yeah.
But I have tried because I'm actually, so in our relationship, it's reversed. Like Ben is a lot more like, let's do something every day. And, but he
would
does
rather have like one day of cleaning a week.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Where it's like we do the things, but I understand that that's not, plausible. A lot of people like to clean every day. So like, Morgan actually helped me with that. Like I made a list of things that like he likes to be done pretty much daily. So he likes for some laundry to be done. Actually laundry is pretty weekly, but he likes for some, floors to be swept and mopped every day. He likes for, some things to be dusted, some things to be cleaned off, some dishes to be, every day. So what I've done is I've made like a list for myself, like a reminder on my phone, so that at least I know I'm doing at least one thing a day. And usually I have to do more than that, but that's a way for me to compromise because I know that my partner appreciates it being, a little bit more kept up throughout the days. And that just comes.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say that just comes also with like your workspace, because since he works at home, having a cluttered workspace just in general, I could see how that would make your day not go by so smooth, right? Because you're thinking about all these things you have to do. Whereas I'm mostly outside at work all day. So when I come home, it really doesn't bother me as much. So I've had to make that adjustment as well. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have like one thing that you're like, this is absolutely not okay? Like this bothers me all the time. Not about Ben, but just about like house chores, cleaning. Like, is there something where you're like, I don't want the trash to be full? Like, I want this taken out once it's filled up? Or is there something like that that's just like a hard
it's the toilet. I think, I think the
Mm.
toilet needs to be cleaned. Like if not every day, like every other day. Like I don't like a dirty toilet. That to me is, but for women, I've noticed women tend to be a lot more, for lack of a better term, anal about the toilet. And I've talked to a lot of women about this, especially in relationships. Like, do you find this to be true as well? And yes, a lot of times they do. Even when I lived with Jose, like, we'll cut that out. I don't want to say that. But even when I've lived with men in the past, I've noticed that has been true, that men tend to be a little bit more lax on the bathroom, where I feel like the bathroom needs to be like one of the cleaner places. If nothing else, the bathroom will be clean.
Okay.
Yeah, that's for me.
That's a really good point. We did talk about this recently too.
Yeah.
But yes,
What about you?
I agree. Just thinking about it, one, I know I'm bad with things being cluttery. Like I try to work on it, but I know that's like one of my bad habits, I would say. But the one thing that bothers me like immediately is like food trash. Like if we got takeout, like, okay, yeah, let's eat in the living room and watch a movie and stuff. But like once we're done eating, like now that is trash to me. You know, unless there's leftovers that need to be packed up and put away. But like the second the food is gone, I'm like, ew. Like this is all gross now.
Ooh, that's true. Okay.
Yeah, I'm very like it will bother me. Like I will pause the movie and I need to go like remove this from the space.
Yeah.
Like, that feels dirty to me.
Yeah. I actually like that because that is true. I don't like like bags and stuff just kind of sitting around after not being used. Yeah.
Right. Or like even if you have like made dinner and you ate in the living room or something, like I don't want to just like set the plate on the coffee table.
Yeah.
Like I want to go rinse it off and put it in the sink, even if we're not doing the dishes right now. Like,
right.
So that's probably my like hard line. I have some very like strong feelings on that one.
Right. But no, that's true. I actually feel the same way because it just seems like to me it's just kind of like overwhelming. It's like all there. Like, I can see like all the remnants of it. But I will say, yeah, when I was working from home, like during COVID, I was a lot more attentive to house cleanliness. Like I was.
Oh, yeah.
On all my breaks, like I would try to do so, so that kind of changed a lot for me too. So
yeah. No, that's a really good point. That's true too. Next one is talk about how you'll create a home. Yeah. So having a discussion about things like the past and the future, what kind of food you'll eat, how you'll eat, how you'll celebrate holidays. Do you wear your shoes in the house? Do you take your shoes off before going in the house? Do you eat at the dinner table every night? Things like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, these are really good questions. I mean, I think they're just all more present for me because I have been going through these things like over the last 2 years. So it totally makes sense. But yeah, those are all really good conversations to have. And you will learn a lot about people and like what their past actually looks like. And so I think for I think for a lot of people, it seems like you always just assume, or maybe I do, or maybe, just people that I know, you're always going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they know as much as you've learned in your past or like more, you know what I mean? Like you're always kind of like, oh yeah, these are just things. But as I've grown up, like I've realized like the way that I learned to clean up and stuff, first of all, some of those things I resent because I'm like, everything does not need to be pristine all the time. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if my partner does care about those things, I have to like rewire my brain to make sure that I'm like not associating what they want with something that I didn't like or resented in the past. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so as I'm saying that, I'm like trying to be self-aware because laundry was always something that I hated growing up. So I am trying to rewire my brain that that's just like something that's good for our home and the way that like we're, preparing our home. So
right. Yeah. No, that's true.
Yeah.
Next one is be honest about past relationships. So get real with yourself and your partner about why past relationships didn't work, especially if you've lived with a partner before.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. So not just the breakup, but why the living together part might have been challenging. And they suggest doing some soul searching about any lingering trauma from past romantic relationships.
Yeah.
And from childhood. So, like Ryann, that's not your name. Like Ryann was saying, like, what does laundry really mean to her? You know what I mean? What is this bringing up? It's not just, washing and folding clothes. It's
right.
Like the most hated chore for a reason.
Well, yeah. And I lived in a household with a lot of people. So laundry day wasn't just your laundry, right? Laundry day was your like everyone's laundry, everyone's socks, everyone's underwear. You're right. Like those are all the things that go into it. And so, like, yeah, that was like a big thing for me growing up. And it's like a lot of that selfishness. But as I've like met a lot of people like out in the world and stuff, like a lot of people had things done for them, right? Like maybe they had a more traditional home where their mother did everything for them, or, or they had someone in their home that like did the caretaking. And so now in their adult life, like they've really had to just like adjust to that, And so I would just say like in all these conversations, like definitely give your partner grace and the benefit of the doubt. But also too, like if you're privileged enough to like have therapy or like have an outlet to talk about some of these things and really figure out like why you feel so much, animosity towards your partner about whatever the thing that you want them to do better, just kind of think of it that way. And I think that might alleviate some of the issues. But yeah, overall, yeah, like living together is hard, but at the same time, it's easier when you feel like you have a teammate and a partner, right? Not just a roommate.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Because you can't tell your roommate. Ryann and I have known. I mean, we've been roommates before, and we weren't perfect.
No,
but we also had other roommates as well, and we would like confide in each other all of our frustrations, like why did they do the dishes this way, or like all the bullshit.
Oh yeah.
So yes, that's true. If you're moving in with someone as a partner,
yes,
have the conversations.
Yes. Yeah. And again, age is so important. Like,
oh yeah.
Oh, like the fact that it sucks that you have to live with people when you're youngest because you're so stupid.
Oh,
Like,
it's so stupid.
You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
things that I did, I would not do now just because I have like some life experience. But like just being so young and being so dumb, you know, I guess is
Right.
my
We're not responsible enough to like take care of like a home. Are you
yeah,
kidding?
yeah. We had a shoebox and it was hard enough.
It was. Oh boy. All right. So last couple here. So share your long-term expectations. So before moving in together, talk about your long-term plans for your relationship. Do you want to get married? Do you want to have kids? It's crucial to be on the same page. Also, ideas of the timeline for those things.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I wonder if you could, because now I'm thinking like, back to like our friends with benefits episode. What if you had like a friends with benefits situation, which I still do not believe exists. So if it exists, please let us know. Yeah. But I really don't believe it. I literally was listening to our episode like, this doesn't exist. It's not real. However, if it does in some way, shape, or form, or if you were like, you sparked something up with like an old flame, right? And then let's say in this scenario, quarantine happens, right? The lockdown happens and you decide, let's do this together, right? A lot of these conversations you're probably not going to have because it's like, I don't know if I want to end up with you, but I also don't want to be alone during quarantine, so it's like, I want to know about your dish habits, but I don't want to know if you want to have kids. You know what I mean?
Like... Right. Yes. I think this one has an asterisk because it depends on who you're moving in with. That's really true.
Fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we heard the stats earlier. Like some people were like, I figured out this is the person I want to be with forever. Great. Mm-hmm. This is one of the bullet points you should be listening to.
Yes.
If you're part of the other percent that didn't say that, skip.
Yeah. Skip. Okay.
Last one is get vulnerable. So you need to be able to have vulnerable conversations with your partner. Like, what's your biggest fear for this relationship? Mm-hmm. Which I feel like kind of could open a can of worms.
Yeah.
Like, if you just come out straight with that,
yeah.
Like, don't just be like, hey, takeout's here. By the way, what's your biggest fear in this relationship? I don't know. What? I thought we were just having pad thai.
Yeah, I know.
I got Netflix all like warmed up. This was not the conversation I was expecting. Like, I feel like we need a little bit more context around this one, but I get it.
Yeah, you're big. Yeah, we all. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how much light you want to give to your biggest fears as much as you want to just like, you want to subside them by talking about things that you do see as positives. You know what I mean? Like, yes. Like that's always kind of like a funny, like, joke is like, tell me your biggest fear. Like, I want to get vulnerable, but it's like, I don't think we really need to like always like voice our biggest fear. That seems counterintuitive. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you're manifesting the wrong thing outwardly.
Right. You are putting a lot of feelings in me that it's my biggest fear. Like,
I know now your biggest fear is also my biggest fear. Like, right. Jesus, like.
So it says, be open about what your fears are about moving in together or getting more serious. The amount you can hide really goes down when you're living together. Talk about what your habits really look like. Do you watch Netflix to fall asleep? How much alone time do you need?
Yeah. Those all make sense. Those are
fair. Right.
Yes, those are fair. And yeah, biggest fear about moving in together. That's completely fair. I mean, yeah, I think more than likely your biggest or, a common biggest fear would be that you're going to want to break up and then you're stuck in a lease together or something, right? Like that's probably a very common one. But I also do think that you have to recognize that like we did try, and successfully, we tried a lot of like relationship exercises, and we really like tried to like talk about things that maybe just wouldn't come up until you're in the heat of an argument. And so sometimes it's good to try and like be a little bit, proactive about those things. But also the reality is that you are human, and a lot of your habits, you don't even know that they're habits until someone points it out to you, right? Like, did you know that you do this?
And the glass shattering the episode from How I Met Your Mother. Yes.
Right, exactly. Yep. Like a lot of the things you don't notice you do until somebody's like, yeah, you do that every time. And you're like, oh, I guess so, and then you kind of have to be like honest, right? Vulnerable about that somebody notices your habits. But yeah, that's a hard process for anyone, especially if you are intimately involved, because then you're talking about other aspects of your life also being shared with this person. But yeah, I don't know, like this is like the thing, like that, like just like I said, do as I say, not as I do, because relationships are hard. Like I think it's very similar to like smoking weed. Like I would never recommend that anyone smoke it, like if someone hadn't smoked it and they were like, should I don't know if you should, maybe not.
Yeah.
Like maybe you shouldn't. You know what I mean? Fair. It's very similar to like being in a relationship. Like I don't know if a relationship is going to help you. I don't know if it's going to be everything you think it is. Hopefully it will be. Like I hope it goes well. I hope you don't like get paranoid and like go sit in the corner because you just like took 2 bong rips. But like you might, you know what I mean? Like you might.
That's me. Yeah. That's my reaction. At least nowadays.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's true though. No, that's really true. Yeah, I think it's kind of like tempering your own expectations
yeah,
of what you're going to get out of it, and then being honest about maybe, we're all human. Nobody's perfect. Like
right.
We all have weird habits, bad habits, whatever.
Right.
So just taking it all in.
Take it all in. Let it wash over you,
Yeah. Okay, so those are some of the topics you should bring up in this conversation, but what are some red flags? Okay. So number 1 is you avoid discussing money.
Yeah. Non-communicative.
Yeah. So if you're not at a point where you're comfortable with discussing or mingling finances, then your relationship is likely not yet strong enough to survive cohabitation. You'll be sharing bills and need to trust each other monetarily.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, mingling finances is a little bit murky. You need to be careful about that. I'm not sure how much I believe in like just completely like merging finances. Just because, keeping that sense of autonomy is nice, it's similar to like, only looking at your own phone. Like, yes, of course, like if I need to use my partner's phone, like that should be normal and not like, hold on, let me like get it ready for you. Like that's weird.
Yeah.
but at the same time, like I think it's similar. Like keeping that sense of independence is important. Like you don't necessarily want to be intertwined in everything, So
right.
A little bit of both.
Yeah. Number 2 is you're navigating major life changes. So if you're navigating a rough patch, it's usually best not to make significant changes. Wait until you they use a metaphor for whitewater rafting that I did want to include, but I'll just get this line out. So wait until you once again reach serene waters to change your living arrangement.
Yeah, that's lame. What?
It's a whole thing. But yeah, true. Yeah, if you're going through something major and you're just like, well, let's just move in together, that might be, you probably didn't discuss all the things that we read in our previous like segments. So probably skipping some steps.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know though. Maybe a big life event kind of puts things into perspective for you, right?
Right, that's true. But maybe it's saying like don't do it when you're still in that maybe like crisis mode or like,
that's fair. Yeah.
Like if you make that decision, maybe give yourself a little bit of time to like think on it.
Hopefully, if you have that time. I mean,
if you have that time, that's true. Like, what is this like major life change? Like, what if you lost your job or like,
right?
Who knows? Like, it could be tough. That's true.
Right.
It could be a lot of different things. So yeah, I feel like we're a little on the fence with that one.
A little bit.
The next one, and again, this was a list of a bunch. I just picked some out. The next one is you can't support yourself.
Yeah, which I guess goes hand in hand with the last one, right? Because if you're like fight or flight, right, is like, oh my gosh, like what am I gonna do? Like I either move in with you or what, right? If there's no other option. That's an unfortunate situation to be in. I know people that have been in that situation and like unfortunately it didn't end up working out. But I don't think that's that's the rule. You could be the exception, but as we know from He's Just Not That Into You, don't think that you are the exception. You're probably the rule.
Yeah.
So, so just, I guess it's more like, don't be surprised if it doesn't work out. Just kind of know that was always a possibility because unfortunately, you wouldn't do it differently,
Right. Yes. Yeah. Next one is you're being pressured. So it's your life. Don't let peer pressure or any type of pressure back you into a cohabitation corner. Yes. If you enjoy having your own place, keep it.
Yeah.
It's true. Or like if your friends and everyone's getting married and doing whatever, like.
Oh yeah, don't fall into that. Yeah. Let them do all the things. Okay.
Right. Yeah. The next one, you're not in love. So this was a little iffy. Yeah, I thought so too.
I think
so
it's the opposite.
Are you in love or what?
Just finish.
Okay. It says, are you in love or settling because everyone around you is pairing off, moving in, and getting married? So kind of tying into the last one, are you pressuring yourself because you're not on track with the same timeline?
Oh, okay. All right. I get it now.
Right. I think it's more, there are a lot more factors, I think, in moving in together than just being in love.
Yeah.
Which I think is where you were going when you first heard this one.
I mean,
but I think it's saying like, don't settle for something if it's not like really what you want.
Oh, see, I was thinking of it more like, which I could be wrong, but I was thinking more of it like they're saying, don't move in if you're not in love because like, I don't know. To me, it just sounds like, be guided by your emotions. And like, if we know anything about emotions, they are all over the place. They are unpredictable. Like you can't always like assume or, think or about something and you really don't, right? Because it's just based off of your emotions. Like I was actually ridiculed for like marrying for the reasons I did because I needed healthcare, but it was like, we knew that we were going to get married anyway. However, the timeline was pushed up because I was like, look, if we're going to like make this move across the country, like I need to be financially stable, be able to do what we need to do to get us there. But that does not include healthcare, in the same way that I've had it, working as a teacher. And so, but a lot of people were like, well, that's no reason to get married. And I'm like, well, I don't think falling in love with a person is just the reason to get married. I feel like that's when you fall into like this hole of like, it just feels good. And like, I just like want to do this thing for you and like profess my love in front of people, which for me is like the opposite. I'm like, I don't need to profess my love in front of anyone. I just want to like be married to you, so
right.
That's how I was reading it. But that could just be me projecting. I don't know.
No, I get that too. I mean, but I think if we're thinking about like what we talked about before, your guys' long-term goals and expectations, like you guys had established those.
Yes.
Like we know that we want to be married. So when that happens is not of like particular consequence. Like we know that is our end goal. We want to build a life together. So if like these practical concerns are coming up, like let's deal with that.
Right. Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. The next one is you hate each other's friends. So although it's unromantic to think about, successful relationships take a lot more than just love. We just said that. There must be a sense of camaraderie, not just with each other, but with each other's friends.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, your friends might suck, though. I mean, there's also like that. Like, that's like a big part of it as well. I mean, seriously, though.
Well, that's like, I mean, it says you hate each other's friends. Like, it's saying both ways.
No, it's saying you hate your partner's friends.
No, you hate each other's friends.
Yeah, your partner. Yeah, each other. Your partner's friends.
Right, but that's you and your partner hating each other's friends.
Yeah, I know. And I'm saying both ways. I know that that's both ways, but I'm saying maybe you like the person, like maybe your friends suck. Like
maybe you don't even like your friends that much either. So you're like, well, I don't really care. Like I can drop them.
Yeah. Like maybe you have friends that are actually acquaintances, or you just have like frenemies, or you know what I mean? Or you just like have friends that legitimately like aren't the best for you. I'm not saying you should like ditch your friends and go be with some person. I'm just saying like there's a chance that if they hate each other, like I just always believe that there's self-reflection to be had in everywhere. Like, and I mean, if there's like a genuine hate, that's a weird, like they don't even know each other that well. First of all, Yeah, but if I may interject a little bit of rumor, a little bit of gossip here, okay?
Ooh, the tea. Okay.
All the tea. Yes. Get your teacups ready, okay? Put your pinky out.
Ready.
The only time that I can remember, the only time that I can remember a friend hating their like best friend's partner was like way back when. It was way back, again, not going to give specifics, but they ended up fucking each other and having kids together.
Oh.
Yeah. And it was like,
it was sexual tension.
It was sexual tension. And they were like, I hate that person. And then, you know, the partner would be like, I hate your best friend. Like, da, da, da. And the person in the middle, you know, was just kind of like, I don't know why you guys hate each other so much, but like, I don't know, like, what do you want me to do? About 2 years later, you know, that relationship ends. Also, the best friends also stop being best friends. And the best friend and the ex-partner ended up having 2 kids together. So I'm just saying, if you have that much feeling towards someone that you're like, you hate them, just like, how do you have that much feeling about this person you met through me? You know what I mean? Right. Or through the partner.
Yeah.
So, not saying they're all sleeping together, but
you're not saying they're not.
But I'm not saying they're not.
Good point.
Yeah, right? That's a strong hate is like, it's different to just be like, oh, your friends aren't like, I'm not crazy about them. You know, that's okay. You don't need to be. They're my friends, you know, but like hate, that's sexual tension. Fucking.
Great. Now everyone's very, they're all going to go evaluate. I mean, go evaluate anyway.
Go evaluate anyway. Yeah. Exactly. There
Just check on things.
Just check.
Just check. Just check. This one. So your eating habits are diametrically opposed. So you're a committed kosher vegan, and the only 2 food groups they consume are milk and dairy. Was the example.
You mean meat and dairy?
It says milk and dairy. But meat and dairy would be fair. It's probably a typo. Yeah. This was a cut and paste. I thought I did not even notice that, but thank you. Redundancy.
Oh my God, I cannot. Yeah, okay, but either way, right? Yeah, I get that. Yeah, that's weird. That's weird on both parts. Like, I'm sorry. Like, sorry to vegans out there, but I just think it's fucking stupid. Like, I really do. Vegetarians get all day. Pescatarian get it all day. But like, yeah, vegan, like, are you wearing hemp clothes every day? Or like, is this just like something you learned in college? Because I've been there. I was a vegetarian in college too. Like, I get it. I ate a lot of carbs. Okay.
Yeah, but no, that's true. I'm surprised you have gotten this far if you are in this kind of relationship. Right. Where are you going on dates? Yeah. Or both, or one or both of you are like really lying to each other.
Yes, exactly.
And 3, you have never eaten together.
Right.
All of your dates have been like laser tag or something, like something else, like something else.
Exactly. That would like never happen. And even if it did, like that's like a part of why sometimes I really do believe that, unfortunately, like we've talked about that, right? You can only see past your own trauma. And like, if you're getting into a relationship with a person who, you have just like seriously staunch contrasting beliefs, it's just like, are you a masochist? Like, do you just want to be unhappy? Because that person's clearly not going to make you happy. Like, they're just going to eat steaks every night and you're just going to be like, it's fine. Crying. Like, I'll just get my alfalfa strips. Cry.
Right. And it's not to say that this can't work, but if you are like staunch on like, I'm a hemp vegan and like no animal products in the house, well, they don't move it. You can't move in together then.
Right. Yeah. You're living with an animal. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Next one is lack of trust is motivating your decision. So it's a cliche, but it's true. Changing a zebra's stripes is impossible. If you're dating a dog, you can't force him to be faithful.
They said he.
Yeah, they said he.
That's
so if the only reason you're moving in with him is to keep him from cheating, prepare to have your heart crushed.
Or prepare that he's already cheating.
Right, that's what it's saying. Like you're trying to. It's like when people like our marriage is like on the rocks. Let's have a baby. Oof, that'll fix it. You know?
Yeah.
Like that trope. That's what it's saying.
But see, that's what I'm saying. That's like masochism. Like I think you kind of want to be unhappy in some ways.
But I think breaking up is hard, you know? People like the comfort and like.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But like you're more attached to like the
pain.
The pain, what you already know, than like going out and actually like figuring out why it is that you're attracted to like being hurt. Yeah. I mean, millennials and like beyond are already having way less kids anyway. Like we've picked up on it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, we've picked up what they're dropping down. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like we're just like, oh, that's how you turned out and you had that many kids and you resent them how much? Gotcha. I'm not going to do that in hopes that I might be able to do something different and not fall into those same, you know, situations. But
yeah, true.
Yeah.
Last one is you don't know how to compromise.
Oof. Well,
yeah. Be honest. Are you a princess? Do you freak out if things don't go your way? I'm not a princess, but I am a little uptight. Is your partner willing to accommodate your every whim? If not, maybe you're not ready to move in with someone.
Yeah, that's fair, you know, or you could like work on yourself also.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
right.
There's room for you to not be that either.
Right. Once we have sponsors, we'll put in an ad here for BetterHelp and then
Don't say their name. Schmetter Schmelp. Okay.
Schmetter Schmelp, yeah. Or Smock Space. No, that was still Space. What? You do that one. It's Talk Space, but
Schmock Lace.
There we go. Okay. Well, there's your red flags, people. So, big question. Are we doing this wrong?
I definitely didn't have all those conversations at the time that this article recommended to have the conversations. But I will say two things. One, I do believe that a lot of relationships are like, you know, like 70% work and like 30% luck. There are so many people on this world, on this earth, right? And like the fact, or like the chance that you meet someone that you can like spend the rest of your life with, again, if that's what you're looking for, right? Or even just 10 years, whatever, 5 years, is like partly luck, right? Like I always joke about how me and Ben met and like how it really just by circumstance and situation just happened to work out, right?
Yeah.
Because of any small difference in anything that we did would have like completely changed our paths, right? So I'll say that. But I will also say a lot of this is just the willingness to do it, right? It's the willingness to please your partner. It's the willingness to, you know, change your ways for you, right? It's the willingness to go through your, you know, trauma and like unpack some of your stuff. Because yeah, I definitely like, you know, listening to these, I was like, oh, we didn't do that. Like, oh, no, we didn't do that. Oh, we did move in too fast, according to this article, you know, all those things. Mm-hmm. But that's, I think, where some of the luck comes in, because I don't think that we are working on it, you know, and I don't think that we're like actively trying to like, you know, become set in our ways so that like they, you know, change for us. It's more like, you know, it's that give and take. But, you know, sometimes luck comes in. Sometimes luck is on your side and you realize like, wow, I'm glad we spent the pandemic together because I don't know where my life would have been otherwise, you know?
Yeah.
So that's my tip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't moved in with anyone, so I don't know if I'm doing this wrong.
Do you feel like you would do it wrong?
Probably. You know me. We live together. But I would try. I think I would try.
Yeah.
If they were willing to do the dishes, I would try on the other things.
Okay. That's fair. But that one you're not budging on, so.
No, that's my hard line.
Oh my gosh, that's wonderful.
That and the food wrapper being left out.
Yeah. But I feel like that's something you'd usually take care of yourself anyway.
Oh yeah, no, I'm fine with picking that up. I don't want to do the dishes myself though.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, there it is. If you're moving in with someone, hope this helps a little bit or a lot.
All right, we will catch you in the next week's episode. Bye-bye.
Bye. Welcome back to another episode of Am I Doing This Wrong? The podcast where two millennials try to... No. Welcome back to another episode... No, I had too long of a pause. Hold on.